Hail, Thunder Faithful, and welcome to your Weekly Thunder, the podcast that will give you $50 if you can turn into a Venus flytrap. I'm your same favorite host on all Mjolnir Mondays and the occasional Sif Sunday, Sexy Thor, and this is your Weekly Thunder. The Shield came together one more time for a farewell address. Seth needs to get ready for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, Roman needs to get himself back in the groove by confronting shit-talking Baron Corbin, and Dean needs to do whatever Dean wants to before he leaves after Mania. The guys put their fists together one more time, and the story of the Shield ended on their terms. Not the authorities, not evolutions, not leukemias, but on the terms of Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. Until Roman entered the ring later on to get ready for Corbin, when Drew McIntyre viciously assaulted him and Roman couldn't compete, so Seth and Dean took him to the trainer's room to get checked out, and Dean went to Triple H and demanded a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match. It was one for the ages, but Drew McIntyre defeated him and beat him down bad. If this was his final match, it was one to go out on, and one heck of a sacrifice penance payment for his actions last fall, but hopefully we see more of him. Tonight's Raw will have Seth Rollins putting his Mania preparation on hold to get revenge for Roman and Dean. Maybe this whole Shield saga isn't quite done yet. In this episode of A Moment of Bliss, where the creative team didn't have Alexa be interrupted or sound like the thirstiest talk show host in TV history, she announced the host of WrestleMania 35 next month, and the host is herself. There's no one else I'd be happier with as host, except maybe myself. Maybe in a few years. Triple H came to the ring to make good on his calling out of Batista to come face-to-face with him after he beat up Ric Flair in Atlanta, and sure enough, Batista came out with his guards, and it was all, "Give me what I want. I won't give you what you want, but I'll give you what you need. Give me what I want. No, give me what I want. I'll give you what you want." It was a pretty hilarious exchange, along with Hunter calling Batista's guards the Guardians of the Indie scene, which I'm sure you could understand the reference before I even finished that name. Batista and Triple H will face off at WrestleMania, no holds barred. Shane McMahon opened up SmackDown to explain his actions against The Miz and his father at Fastlane, and yeah, it was a pretty common heel reason of being tired of trying to please everybody, so fuck it, he's going to do his own thing. Just because the reason is cliche doesn't mean it won't be entertaining as fuck. See my Captain Marvel review last week for my full point, because Shane McMahon is the most likable member of the McMahon family, no matter what side of the coin he's on. Shane expressed his desire to further beat down Miz at WrestleMania, so there we have it, a Miz versus Shane match at WrestleMania. The Viper Randy Orton and the phenomenal one AJ Styles have had a feud brewing for a few weeks now, as Randy scoffs at AJ's good guy attitude and supporting Kofi Kingston in his pursuit for a title opportunity as being the reason why it took AJ 15 years to become WWE champion. They hashed it out in a wonderful battle of words where Orton looks down on AJ's background coming from the Indies, while AJ called Randy out on getting all the help in the world from his father and grandfather who were already in the industry, and also help from Evolution and the other factions he was a part of. They finally just decided to settle this at WrestleMania, naturally. Mr. McMahon, in his pursuit of strangely hating Kofi Kingston and not thinking him worthy of a WWE title opportunity, scheduled him for a gauntlet match next week against The Bar, Samoa Joe, Rowan, and Randy Orton. At this point, he's about to be the face of the company for the next 10 years. The Cruiserweight #1 contender tournament is down to two guys set to go head-to-head Tuesday, as it's champion Buddy Murphy's training partner and best friend Tony Nese versus the guy Murphy won the belt from in October, Cedric Alexander. Just a little note, since a lot of Thunder Faithful are from the Carolinas, Cedric Alexander is from Charlotte, so throw him your home crowd energy if you're so inclined. Last Wednesday on NXT, Io Shirai fought Bianca Belair for the right to be the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship in NXT TakeOver New York the night before WrestleMania, and at first the champion Shayna Baszler was sitting with the commentators, and then she got up and started beating on both women, and Shirai's best friend and former women's champion Kairi Sane came out to stop Baszler, but all that ended the match by disqualification, So General Manager William Regal decided the TakeOver Championship match will be a fatal four-way, and Baszler will defend the title against Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and Kairi Sane. Between all this network TV time Aleister Black and Ricochet have gotten with being in the Raw tag team title scene and teaming up with the Hardy Boys on SmackDown, you might have forgotten they're still technically in NXT and in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic for the number one contender spot to face the War Raiders for those belts at TakeOver New York. But they are still in NXT, and in the semifinals, they faced DIY and beat them, and when Tommaso Ciampa was helping Johnny Gargano up the ramp, Ciampa was going to turn on Gargano again by throwing him into the LED board. But Gargano was ready this time and super kicked Ciampa, and all of a sudden his leg felt better, and Gargano and his wife, NXT superstar Candice LeRae, just looked at him with a flare of nya. Remember last summer during the early days of Thunder Talk when James Gunn was fired by Disney for things he tweeted years ago and all the discussion and debate we had over that hot topic? Remember how we reported that he landed on his feet with DC and making the next Suicide Squad film? Well, guess what? Disney rehired James Gunn, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is back in full swing. Gunn has Marvel's blessing to still go ahead and do the Suicide Squad, starring Idris Elba as Deadshot, and most likely Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and once he's done with that, he'll mosey on over and work on Guardians 3. Also, side note, the Suicide Squad is going to be like a full reboot, but a full-ish reboot because, as far as we know, Margot Robbie's still going to be Harley Quinn, which, as you all should well know, she was in the first movie. But everything else, super reboot. But anyways, happy days for all. Maybe Batista will stop beating up wrestling Hall of Famers now. Captain Marvel won the second weekend in a row, grossing $720 million worldwide, and haters grossed nothing. They're just gross. If you haven't already, check out Thunder Talk coverage of SC Comic-Con straight from the show floor, currently on the feed of the NerdBliss podcast. Also, keep an eye on that feed because, number one, it's just a great fucking show, and two, the next episode will be the 100th episode and will feature lots of family and friends, especially those who have been past guests, including yours truly. I wish I could have spent more time hanging out that day, but alas, I'm sure I'll be on sometime soon. No pressure or anything to the Master and Commander. I'm just saying my Sundays are about to open back up real soon. Don't know if I got to say this on the recording because my mind was on a million other things that day. But happy 100th, guys, really. I brought this point up on my segment when I was on there yesterday and when we were talking to Mike Faber at Comic-Con. Because what Chris got out of it with this whole podcasting experience was it forced him to be more social and step out of his comfort zone, which is, I suppose, is one of the things that happened to me as well. And Mike Faulkner said you won't get Chris Hardwick type fame or anything, which is also true. But I still turned to Wheatley during that conversation and said challenge fucking accepted. But I told Chris it was the adventure that I've been on ever since I sat on the Moser's couch in my Party City get-up next to Wheatley Kruger at the Moser Halloween Party 2017 to meeting Lightning Lad on my second in-studio NerdBliss appearance to taking the suggestion that I should do radio and coming up with the name Thunder Talk at work and developing it from there at Studio D with the assistance of many shots of tequila. So coming up with your weekly Thunder because the main show started to have setbacks in release dates thanks to real life, so I came up with the idea some random Monday between Stock and Moe's to do a short show throwing down some headlines and Thunder Talk related subjects, which has now turned into rambling about whatever the fuck I want with some headlines in between to hearing other people talk to me about the show unprovoked. I don't ever constantly smack people in the face with my, oh hey, I have a podcast thing. So when people bring it up, I get all extra tingly, especially when Lightning Lad and I are at Ale House and an old friend comes up out of nowhere and brings it up. Shout out to you, John, all the way to being the first podcast that I know of to cast straight from the show floor at SC Comic-Con, especially with no table going complete nomad. And that's not even bringing up all the times I'm listening to NerdBliss in the car and then the Thunder Talk commercial comes up. Like, holy shit, man. So thank you, truly. And listen to the 100th NerdBliss episode coming soon. I only ever got to experience the interview with anime and violin enthusiast, our friend Kaito. And also the interview with myself, obviously. So I'm stoked to hear what else transpired yesterday. And coming this week are a couple of notable things. The Blu-ray for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes out. The Oscar-nominated Best Animated Film, and definitely one of the best Spider-Man films out there. So I personally am super stoked to get that tomorrow morning. And also this Friday on Netflix, The Dirt, the biopic straight from the same name as the Motley Crue autobiography, directed by Jeff Tremaine from the Jackass crew, and starring the Game of Thrones and Inhumans guys, Mick Mars and Machine Gun Kelly as Tommy Lee. Y'all know what it is. And also, if you haven't yet, Motley Crue, the real band, has a couple of new songs out. They have The Dirt, which it released the same day as the trailer, I believe, so you might already know that song exists. But they also did a cover of Madonna's Like a Virgin, which released last week. It's interesting. It's pretty cool. So check out those songs and check out that movie Friday. Before or after you watch the new episode of Doom Patrol, whatever it is, that's your prerogative. I really don't know which one I'm going to watch first, honestly. But anyway, that's your Weekly Thunder, and my Weekly Thunder, and our Weekly Thunder for March 18th. I'm Sexy Thor, and always remember to drink, fight, and make your ancestors proud. See, Lightning Lad, I told you I'd do it on Mondays.